Hello and welcome to what is probably the final part of the Getae Abridged campaign. Last time we finished off our wars in the west, destroying the Cimbri and the Heruskos. Then we attacked and defeated one of our former allies, the Gutanes Confederation, because they were being annoying, and then we started our new war against the Scythians in the east. And so far we've just steamrolled forward and taken one of their settlements with no resistance, but we have now caught wind of the presence of an enemy army. There is a full stack defending the walled settlement to our east, so some sort of conflict will be coming up, and it looks like they've got plenty of the horse archers I expected, also some hoplites, which I didn't really expect. I thought I'd see more light horse archers, but still, we've got plenty of troops to use. What I'm going to do for this turn is actually move towards the other settlement to the north. I'm using one of my armies to block the enemy's access to this area, so we can have two stacks just gang up on this one settlement and easily take it, while the other army has a river crossing fortified, and after an uneventful end turn where the enemy just didn't move, we go on and easily get that capture. The auto-resolve of this and the other settlement has cost us something. One of our armies is now in a damaged state. Still, two are good to go, so those two will lead our attack as we push in. This is our objective, by the way, to take this port city. That's the bonus thing that I'm trying to do here. All this other territory I'm just taking because it's in the way. We can start moving towards that objective. Right now, we're not really ready to go because the other armies aren't in position, but I thought let's spend this turn sitting in enemy territory just to see what they do, and the answer is that they didn't do anything, actually. Meanwhile, I'm on the diplomacy screen. We fleeced some cash off of the Kartli, the faction to the east of the Scythians, so that's nice. We've got our relationship for after the war set up. They interestingly had Pontus as one of their satrapies, so Pontus are not doing very well in this campaign, and we can also steal some cash off them for a trade deal as well, so this is all good for us. I made this deal with the Thyni Confederation, a Dacian faction hanging out around Constantinople. Had to pay them for an alliance, but I thought I'd take that for some solidarity with the only other surviving Dacian faction on the map. I think there are 2 or 3 in the beginning, but they all got taken out by the RDE, my own allies. Anyway, moving on, you can see that the stack of enemy troops that was defending this town isn't here by the time my forces arrive, so I besiege it with my damaged army, and the 2 more strong armies will carry on southwards. I'm putting them close together thinking we might actually have an engagement, but then I ended up moving the foremost army a bit closer to the enemy so that we're not in reinforcement range, and this did trigger the enemy to respond. They came over to attack us with 1 and a bit stacks of troops. Balance bar didn't look very good, so I thought we'll just move backwards, hoping we might end up fighting with both of our armies, but the enemy withdrew after I withdrew, so in the end, nothing happened there, and we still just have to plod along. But since now both of our armies are now so near to this siege, I thought we might as well just shuffle over a little bit, so we get an insane auto-resolve here, with basically no strength on the enemy side of that balance bar. We'll take this place for free. Well, I say for free. The losses on the army leading the attack there are now so great that they're effectively out of this campaign. They can't really do anything with their hoplites so messed up like that. So we are now down to 2 stacks, but 2 stacks is still quite a lot, and it's more than the enemy have. I set up this ambush fort combo here because the ambushing force might make us look weak and draw the enemy into an attack, but before we could see if they'll take the bait, we've got some news from home. The Nervii are attacking the Scordisci Confederation, our allies. The easy play here is to just break our alliance with the Scordisci because we don't need it at all, but I went for the meme route of going into war with the Nervii, the massive faction that borders all along our western side. We're not actually going to fight them in this campaign, but just thought I'd start this war for fun and see if anything happened. I do still have my king over here in the far west of our territory, gearing him up with a few better units in case we need them. We'll send him out to do a bit of raiding just for fun later on. We can also spam out some trash. We have tons of money, so we can spam out as much trash as we want, really. The Nervii don't have any armies on our borders, so this meme war ended up being nothing, really. So back to the action. Here was the crucial decision point of this campaign. I realised we're almost certainly going to end up with another auto-resolve, and that will basically be the end of the campaign, so I thought let's do things in a bit more of an interesting fashion. I decided to not advance with my second army. We're going to have the third army, the one that's damaged, just start going back home because I'm not going to use it for anything, even guarding our territory. The second army will start moving over to the east where there is another territory they could take, and otherwise they're just out of the way over there. meaning only the army currently in enemy territory will be used for fighting. And indeed, it's going to be used for fighting right now because this army on its own attracts some more enemy attention. This time the balance bar is even worse than last time. It's like 1 2/3 of an army coming in, and things look difficult. However, we do have a fort, and I was raring for action really. I wanted something interesting to happen, so we're not going to retreat. We're going to see what we can do with this fight. The interesting thing is that although we have a fort, the enemy's army is well suited to attacking a fort because they have so many ranged units. So our lines of hoplites are not going to be the one-size-fits-all solution they have been in the past. All the enemy need to do is walk up to us, and the bad AI isn't going to save us, because if they just stand here throwing jabs with no particular other strategy, that'll be fine because we don't have that much of a response. Going outside the fort will make it worse. And if we don't stand here, the few units they do have attacking will get in and cause chaos. So we ultimately just stand here and get hit by a whole bunch of jabs and arrows, but at least that early fight against the enemy's 4 or 5 light melee cavalry units is probably going to go well. The one thing we can do back against the enemy is use our own archers. We want to try and focus down the enemy's units, especially their javcav, by making all of our archers shoot at the same unit at the same time. When we attack units that have very light armor or low shields, like these guys right here, we just mow them down, no problem. I think that was 2 units at once getting annihilated there, so that's good stuff. And these guys attacking the front of our shield wall, they're going to get annihilated as well. They don't have the melee skill to get in there. However, they have mostly not light horse archers. They're mostly heavy horse archers and like noble or royal horse archers with high enough armor that arrows don't do any damage. That means we don't really have a recourse other than being hit by all their arrows and seeing what happens. Against the blob that's attacking the hoplites, I'm trying here a strategy that someone mentioned in the comments. Someone said you could set the barricade here on fire to collapse it and it'll kill loads of nearby enemies. The issue is that it takes quite a long time to set the barrier on fire, and these light units don't last long enough for us to find out whether that plan actually works because they're all dead, which I guess is still the good result. That's what we were going for anyway. Another attack is starting now because all of the enemy's reinforcement units are attacking the southern gate. So far we've just got a unit of hoplites that is tanking like 6 units worth of arrows at the same time, and they'll have to just carry on doing that for now. So yes, we've routed various horse archer units and we've cleared up a bit of space here at the western gate, but another fight is going to start against a new kind of unit. We're facing some actual heavy Greek-style hoplites. It's time to see how they face up against Getae hoplites. The issue we're going to have is that they have double our numbers, we've already been in combat, and we're being absolutely pounded by jabs and arrows the entire time, giving the enemy a bit of an advantage. Plus, they have an advantage I didn't expect actually. They are ghosts. They just start clipping through all of our units and kind of form up on our side of the line. This means the formation breach thing is going to be happening immediately, so that hoplite formation will not perform especially well. Against the attack in the south, I was able to rout one of the horse archer units using a couple of my own foot archer units, but the rest of these guys are all of the armoured style that we can't really bring down with our own archers. So again, we're just going to tank all of their arrows and see what happens really, and what's going to happen is we'll slowly lose men. But at least the melee troops can't really get through, the melee cav that is, because of this barricade. Those barricades last an absolute age, way longer than the battle is going to last, so most of the enemy are just kind of stuck there doing nothing. Meanwhile, this fight with our hoplites is starting to look nasty. The enemy are breaking through, so I decided to commit my general to plug this hole in the line. The general's already started taking damage from enemy arrow fire, but at least now that he's in the fight, the enemy archers are less likely to actually hit him, or at least if they do, they'll hit their own men as well. Now I need to do something with my javcav to make a decisive move in this battle. I'm trying to sneak through to attack the rear side of the enemy's blob like I usually do, but there's so much stuff still here that it's not as simple as it often is. First I need to get my javcav to kite away some of the enemy's heavy melee cav. We probably can't beat them in melee, so we're just going to let them chase us to the edge of the map. Meanwhile, there's a little drama going on out to the east of the camp. I had these war dogs that I was going to release to attack the horse archers in the southern group. The problem is, a unit that came back from routing was right here as I released the dogs. They ended up fighting the dogs, they lost right away, so that's fine. But now that the dogs are in combat, they just kind of stay in combat with the closest unit. You can't control them, and you can't recall them in this mod. That means these dogs will chase like 1 or 2 guys off the field and will have no impact on the battle at all really, so that failed completely, which is a shame because I think dogs are actually really good against horse archer units in particular. Anyway, we eventually get this rear attack on the blob that I was going for. The problem is this big bulky blob isn't especially effective. These units are probably quite disciplined and don't care so much about lighter cav coming in to attack them. So yes, this big block of armoured hoplites isn't going anywhere anytime soon, however I do keep cycle charging them. Meanwhile, the units that were being chased away by the enemy's heavy cav are betrayed by skirmish mode not working when you get too close to the edge of the map. They just keep running into the line and not moving. So we do get caught there. Another unit's running off to the other side of the map that's further away, so they'll do better. For some reason I was filming this at fast speed, didn't really need to because stuff's actually happening. I did rear attack the blob again with the other cav who were over here in the main fight, and this time the blob was terrified. We actually routed 3 of the 4 enemy hoplite units in the blob. We were helped out, I think, by the fact that the enemy have pushed so far into the fort that I was able to attack with archers on both flanks. You can see the heavy archer units that I've got are hanging out over there. They probably didn't do very much damage, but they will have added to the morale debuffs, and I guess that's what made the difference. So with that, we've won that little part of the fight, and the balance bar is now in our favour. Some more guys, possibly ones coming back from routing again, attacked the eastern gate. We held them out for a while using our archers, then our battered general pushes in there to secure that situation. This final set of hoplites is refusing to leave, even though all the other ones routed when they were surrounded. This group is not routing when surrounded. My eventual solution to this was to completely disengage. I pulled everything away and the enemy just stood there, and then we could make a more clean rear attack. I charge at them with my archers right into the back of the phalanx, and this more obviously triggers the morale debuff or something, I don't know. Finally they do rout and run off through the weird floating dead guys. So that's that. That fight's finally actually over. Now we just need to win that fight at the southern gate, where the barricade is still slowing things down substantially. The enemy really want to attack my spearmen, and the barricade's probably keeping them alive by stopping them from taking unfavourable fights. Perhaps though they would have actually managed to break through, and the barricade did save us there, gave us time to do other things. Those other things being to bring back some of the lighter cav I had microing around the map, and actually rear attack this group. This little rear attack here doesn't really kill anyone, but it causes 2 of the units in the blob to rout away, thinning things out. Then I brought back a second unit to make another attack, and by this point everything in the blob has finally routed or been killed. And that is also going to be the end of that, and the barricade is still holding even by the very end. The fort's now looking good. We just need to pull back all our remaining cav to make the enemy's remaining cav come and attack so we can take them out. These guys ran right through the anti-cav defences, although they didn't really do all that much, and they eventually ran into our phalanx, our pike phalanx, where they all put their pikes away upon seeing cav and get their tiny short swords out instead. Still, that should hold the enemy in place for a while. Their other, still uncommitted unit of cav eventually comes and does the same thing at one of the other gates, and then the battle comes to an end just because of army losses. We rout those units without particularly killing them. It's a close victory, and it really was close. We lost a lot of stuff. It's hard to appreciate in this replay format, but we were being hit by arrows for a lot of that battle. That's why we lost so many of our archers. We lost most of our archers. We lost most of our light cav. We lost virtually all of our phalanx. Overall, not the nicest fight. The enemy, though, did lose everything. They got really wiped out. Gonna execute the captives so the other factions around the Black Sea like me, because they all hate these guys. And that's that, or is it? Because right after the fight, here I am. I've merged my units together and I'm spamming some mercenaries to get our army back to quote-unquote full strength. The reason for that is there's an enemy general standing outside the town, so I'm eager to go in here for a siege drawout. There is still a half stack of troops inside, and there's a nearly full stack of garrison troops that will be involved, of course. However, we're not going to worry too much about that. We are going in. The balance bar is nasty. It's pretty much just as bad as it was in the previous fight, but as I've said before, garrison units show up more on the balance bar than they're worth, so I wasn't too worried about that. I was more worried about the half stack of horse archers. We now really don't have much we can do about that other than be hit by the arrows, so let's go and do that. Immediately I wanted to send my Javcav forwards to take out that enemy general since he'll be on his own at the start. However, he did successfully pull back into this stream of reinforcements just as I arrived, so we didn't have time to attack him. Instead, we cut to a while later when my army arrives. The enemy are defending, so they just stood there near the edge of the map. I did have a plan to counter this. What I wanted to do was send forward some men to absorb all of the enemy's arrows before I attacked, thinking the enemy's defensive AI might remain on and they'll just stand there. However, they do decide to attack me, so annoyingly the enemy's offensive AI has been turned on. Normally in a Total War battle you want to trick the enemy into attacking you. Here I did want them to just sit there and do nothing for the whole fight, but they're doing something. You can see we're more outflanked than any army has ever been in Total War. I've never seen a battle where the enemy are about 5 times the width of our formation, although it's mainly because my formation has like 4 lines. We're really bulky because I was preparing to be outflanked basically and keeping units that are vulnerable to arrow fire at the back as well so that they'll be less likely to be targeted. When the fight starts, well, you can't really tell what's going on. It's as true for us here as it was for me playing the battle. I can't remember, in some of the Total Wars you can turn the trees off so you can see things. Maybe that feature was added in to a later title than Rome 2. But basically, nobody knows what's going on. At least in the replay we can bring the camera down to the floor and try to work out what's happening. It looks like the enemy's light melee infantry are attacking the front of my hoplite line, so that's good. But everything else they have is just standing around. They're gradually outflanking me with tons of archers and are just showering arrows absolutely everywhere. And really annoyingly, they're not just shooting at my shield walls, they're shooting at my very vulnerable to arrow Thracian mercenaries at the back. So that's annoying, and this does force me to commit the mercenaries to just go charge at stuff, which is never going to go well, especially against horse archers. My Javcav are embroiled in various minor fights off in the forest, mostly against enemy cav over there, but I do have 2 units here with 1 unit's worth of troops coming in to attack the enemy's foot archers. They've got like 6 or something units of foot archers just on the edge of the forest, and they're all garrison units, so they're nice and easy to kill. So I just start going along the line and routing them with my Javcav. Elsewhere, you can see the enemy's battle plan isn't very complex. They're just standing there for the most part. Even their melee cav are just standing there. A lot of them do actually have bows because they're the elite form. So that's actually better than it looks, but they probably could rear attack me if they wanted to with their massive outflanking advantage and all of their shock cav. So things are going better than they could be. However, my archers aren't very able to take out enemy horse archers in this battle. Because of the trees really. The trees not only block arrows, but they block me seeing whether my archers are shooting at the right units already, meaning my micro is atrocious. We actually did catch up to the enemy's cavalry lines using my Thracians after wildly charging them out. However, they straight up lost. The enemy's cav, even their shock cav in melee, were just better. Thracians are like a chargy unit, so I guess they just don't do very well. Looks like my Greek hoplites on the left have been accidentally rotated and are showing their back to some horse archers. That is nasty stuff. We are being picked apart, presumably. We can't really tell from up here, but it certainly seems like things are going wrong. My Javcav attack on the enemy's archers eventually failed because there were just some more horse archers further back for some reason, and they sniped us down. Here we are a bit later where the main fight is coming to an end really. We're totally surrounded now. The enemy started bothering to use their melee cav, which was a problem for us. Their general went and took out my Javcav, so while we did do a lot of damage to all of those foot archers at the back, we then lost the Javcav and we can't do anything about all the other stuff that's attacking us. So unfortunately we didn't get enough utility out of them. Meanwhile, we won the melee fight that we had in the center, but now the cav and arrows that are coming at us from all directions are doing damage. They're finally in amongst my archers with their heavy cav, and we've got lots of units who have their backs facing the enemy's archer lines. Nasty stuff, and it leads to this moment when pretty much everything gets killed. We're too slow to escape, we're surrounded by cav, so there's no routing or withdrawing possible. We just have to die to end this battle, and that's just what we do. That's the end of that. We lost absolutely everything. I thought we might escape with like a general and some cav or something on a technicality, but no, everybody is dead. This army is gone. We've never been this wiped out, not only in this campaign, but in general we avoid being wiped out in the Abridged campaigns. So Tiepa there, give me back my legions. What were you doing with that mad attack? He was actually the head of the family by the looks of things. He was the father of the king. Not sure why he wasn't king himself, some weird thing from earlier. Anyway, we failed our attack. However, we do have 2 more lives in that respect because the other armies are hanging around, so instead of walking off to do nothing, they'll have to come back and actually participate. Now I was expecting some sort of revenge battle, but actually things ended up being way easier than I expected, because when I got here, all the enemy's forces in the area had left, so it's just the garrison, and our 2 stacks can easily overpower it. The garrison's still somewhat damaged from the last battle as well, remember. And the reason for all this, you can see in the background, there's something else going on the other side of the sea. The Scythians essentially lost all of their troops fighting some other factions and trying to deal with an invasion over there, which meant our invasion ended up being super easy and there was no climactic battle. So I guess the one we saw earlier was now the climactic battle, because we've done it, we've achieved our objective and taken this territory. It's annoying to occupy, but there it is. We've got a tick mark, we have a port next to the right bit of sea, we're also at war with the right faction, and we're 1 region away from completing this chapter. The thing is, the faction we need to be at war with for our other bonus is actually on the verge of destruction. It looks like they lost a battle at their other settlement this turn as well, but luckily it wasn't occupied, so they're still alive. That means we still have a chance. We just need to ally to somebody, and that will take us over the cap for the number of regions we need to have under our quote-unquote control, and we will be golden. So now I'm going to start throwing money at people to force them to be my military ally. The RDA here seem like a nice candidate, but they reject my massive pile of cash. There's only one solution, an even more massive pile of cash, because I was planning to basically leave the campaign after this. It doesn't matter how much money I waste on stuff. So there we go, I throw like 20 grand at them. We get actually a pretty good ally in a nice strategic position, so there is some purpose to that, and it takes us over the cap. However, this doesn't complete the objective right now. The missions are only checked at the start of each turn, a flaw the game I'm also developing, Godless Tactics, get hyped for it now, also has. But anyway, that means we need to survive another turn, we'll probably do that, but the Scythians also need to survive another turn, and that's the problem actually. It says here that we've completed 1 of 1 bonus objective, and punters have moved in and captured that last Scythian territory. So it seems we technically didn't do the bonus objective because the Scythians disappeared as a faction. However, it also removed the objective entirely, so we technically did 100% of the bonus objectives in some way. So that's good, isn't it? We would have done it if I just spammed in with the 3 stacks from the start, but then it would have been an auto-resolve right from the beginning as well, so perhaps this was the more interesting way of doing it. Our next objective would actually be to go and take the rest of Scythia out here somewhere. There's like a gigantic province with barely any regions in it that takes many years to take, but I don't care about that. We also had the objective of getting a certain tech. It's the tech at the very end of the tech tree, so we're like 50 to 100 turns away from doing that one. And we also have to subjugate 13 factions. We're on 11 right now for some reason. I feel like we haven't taken out 11 factions, but maybe it's because we defeated the Ereveski Confederation like 5 times back when we were being mean to a kink. Anyway, I did play on a few more turns, and the only thing that happened during that time was I eventually decided to attack the Nervii. I didn't see anything from them. They didn't have any armies on their border, or even attacking the Scordissi, who they originally declared war on. So I eventually sent some troops to go and liberate a faction over here, creating a new Nervii for us to play with, and I can just force them to be in the war as well. I noted I could actually go and take Uberzis here, which is part of a province that I partially own with Casurgis over there. So there you go, there's actually some purpose to invading the Nervii and taking at least a bit of territory. However, as I said, I'm not going to do it because this is the end of this campaign, and the main reason I'm ending it here is because from here on, we're going to have enough money that we can just auto-resolve anything we want. We can put 4 stacks together to attack anywhere if we want to, so I'm not going to bother. We'd win from here, although maybe not against Rome actually in this scenario. Anyway, here's a final look at what our territory is at the very end. It looks like we're a really big and powerful faction, but we don't have any money or people in these areas, so actually our power levels are a lot lower than they seem. As I said, we're probably a lot weaker than Rome, even though Rome doesn't have that much territory. We would probably conquer the Nervii from here on in, so we'd get a bit more territory and be a bit closer to Rome after we achieved that. I think fighting Rome probably would be the only interesting thing to do with this campaign. However, it would take so long to get to that point that I'm not going to bother. We're just going to go and play something else. And that thing else that I'm going to play is the Total War Attila mod Medieval 1212 AD. Basically Medieval Total War 3 in the form of a mod for Total War Attila, a very requested thing that's been released recently in some sort of alpha state. I'm playing as the County of Toulouse, so the southwestern part of France, for no particular reason. Basically there's some interesting stuff that happens right at the beginning, so you can check that out when the first episode comes out, which will probably be very soon because I've already started filming it and I'll start making it tomorrow as of the time of this recording. Anyway, this campaign is over then, so thank you very much for watching and supporting the series, and I guess now you should get it out. Just like I'm gonna do. See ya!